Okay, so we are live and we have another Mcfarlane Superpowers unboxing, and this is Robin. And it's not just any Robin, it's Tim Drake Robin. Now, while the logo up here might simply say Robin, and that is indeed the 90s Robin logo that he had on his first miniseries and his second miniseries and his third miniseries, and then finally gave him his own regular series because I guess they finally figured, you know what, we give this guy a miniseries every year, we might as well just give him his own series. So it just says Robin, but if we look at the listing on the back here, it does say Robin Tim Drake. So yeah, we've seen this cross-sell artwork before on the previous figures, so you guys should be well familiar with it right now. So we got Superman Darkseid, Hush Batman, Green Lantern, that's Jon Stewart, Flash, that's Barry Allen, the Batman Who Laughs, that's Robert Pattinson. We got the modern Wonder Woman and the classic Wonder Woman, even though she's just a modern Wonder Woman repainted. We got Tim Drake, we got the classic Batman, who is awesome. We have Black Manta, who is impossible for me to find right now. We got Aquaman. Hopefully I'll be able to get him soon. We got Deathstroke, and we got Nightwing. And then the vehicles are the best part of this line, in my opinion, and it features the new Batmobile and the Invisible Jet, which is something that they should have made back in the 80s, but we didn't get that back then, did we? All right, so looking at the artwork on the package, this piece of artwork should be familiar to anybody who collects Mcfarlane's 7-inch Batman figures and managed to get their black and red Tim Drake Robin, because this is the same artwork. They just altered it to be the Neil Adams designed costume, which is the one that's featured on this figure. So yeah, they just kind of photoshopped it a little bit and made it into this Robin costume. I'm guessing for whatever reason, the style guides that they were given did not have this particular Robin costume in it and only had the red and black costume, which is why they changed it. But even still, it's got some differences to it that aren't as obvious versus this version of the costume. Now, granted, at the angle that you would see his arms at, you can't really see the padding on the gloves or on the sleeves that would be there. So they get away with that. And they did put a new belt on him, and they did alter the hem of his cape over here so that it's flat instead of bat-shaped or bird-shaped, or however you want to put that. So they did put some effort into making it look like this particular Robin costume instead of the red and black one. But he's got the more Batman-style boots with the point directly under the shin. And instead, this Robin should have the boots that more sort of swoop up that way. That should be the way that particular costume goes. And he's got the hairstyle more like what he had when he wore the red and black costume, as opposed to the spikier hairstyle we can already see in the figure. Now, and there's some other differences we can notice too, like looking at the artwork, it's obvious that he has a two-toned cape. It's black on the outside and yellow on the inside. And I'm guessing probably to save on cost, this Robin only has a one-toned cape, and it's yellow. So I'm not sure if that was the best decision. I think if you were only going to pick one color, black would probably be the better one for this particular Robin costume, since that's the color that's on the outside. But ideally, you'd want to have the two-toned cape. Neil Adams designed this costume, and he was very specific when he designed it, is that he wanted to keep the classic colors, but still make it a little more sort of realistic as to what somebody might wear if they were running around at night fighting crime. So that was why he gave it the black cape with the yellow on the inside. So like he could wrap the black cape all around him and be all stealthy, but when he throws it open, you see the red and the yellow and the green, and I'm knocking action figure packages over. I need to clean all this stuff off on my couch. I tend to just toss my action figure packages aside when I'm done with them, and I'm like, I'll clean them up on my day off and then forget about it. But yeah, and also I ordered mine from Amazon, and the package wound up being bent, so that's unfortunate. But like I say, I open all this stuff anyway, so I'd probably rather it go to me who's going to open it than somebody who wants to keep this mint on package, and then they've got a bent package and they're all bummed out over that. So let's go ahead and read the bio on the back. And it is a bio that's in 3 different languages. I believe French and Spanish being the other 2. And I'm going to read it in English because I don't know how to speak the other languages. One thing I have in common with Robert Pattinson Batman is I don't speak Spanish. I probably speak it better than him, though. Anyway, let's go ahead and check this out. Growing up in Gotham City can be complicated. They put the ... in there. That's not me. Especially when you're a kid who's obsessed with Batman and Robin. Boy, ain't that the truth. For Tim Drake, learning everything about his favorite superheroes eventually led him down the path of becoming one himself after he deduced the identities of Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson. Well, what happened then? He figured out they were Batman and Robin. What happened then? That's just kind of ends abruptly. It's like if I told the story, once upon a time there were 3 little pigs, and one had a house made of straw, and the other had a house made of sticks, and the last one had a house made of bricks. And then there was a big bad wolf. That's it. That's all the story. That's all the story you get. like, well, what did the wolf do? So yeah, I think they probably could have used one more line on there, like, about, how he became Robin somehow, like, so he figured out their identities and, tried to convince Dick to become Robin again. And when Dick refused, Tim Drake took the matter into his own hands and became the new Robin. That's how I would end it. Just obviously that's a gross oversimplification of how that story went, but I mean, it's just a bio on the back of an action figure package. What do you want? So, I mean, I want at least a complete bio and not just like, the Jor-El shot the rocket ship into space and it landed on Earth. Okay, what happened after the rocket ship? What happened to baby Kal-El after the rocket ship landed on Earth? Tell me what happened afterwards. So maybe they can fix that with the next Tim Drake figure. And I think that they kind of felt like they dropped the ball with this figure because they've already got another Tim Drake Robin figure coming out. And it's not like, they decided to do a different costume for him. Like, with Nightwing, they decided to put him in his Nightfall era outfit, or with the new Superman figure, they're going to put him into the Rebirth costume. Or when they did another Batman, they put him into the Bronze Age outfit and, gave him a completely different. This is a completely different figure from the Hush Batman. Like, maybe the legs are the same. I don't know. I didn't compare that closely, but the torso's different. The arms are different. The head's different. Belt's different. Everything's different that I can tell. But they're just going to do this Robin figure again, but slightly better. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and open them up. And then you might wonder why I even bought this, because, like, didn't you know? And it's like, well, I want to support this line, and I'm a completist. So if I was a cartoon character, I'd be morphing into a sucker right now. How about that? So we're going to put the cards over here. I got a stack of the cards going from the ones I've opened recently. I don't know where my older cards are at the moment, but they're probably around somewhere. So we got one of 2 trays in here, because this is their new way of keeping the capes steady in the packaging, I guess. It's definitely better than putting a tab through them. So, but what I did with Batman and what I did it with Batman, what I did on purpose with Robin here is I went ahead and took off the cape because I figured it'd be easier to take the cape out of the packaging when it's not on the figure. And I'm going to put all the packaging back together because that'll make it easier to put in the recycling later. I'm going to keep the card, but I threw out the bubble. All right. So now that we got Robin out of the package, let's go ahead and put the cape back on him. And I'm going to fold down these corners. Really, these corners should have been sewn down, but I don't know if Mcfarlane just, did that to save like the, half of a cent per 12 figures that it would take for them to sew that down. And, you know, maybe that's what it was, or maybe they just don't understand how the superpowers capes are supposed to be sewn together. But if you fold it down like that, I'd mentioned that on the Batman review, and unfortunately my Batman did come loose, so I think I am going to wind up sewing these myself. But if you fold down those corners, it does make the cape look a lot more authentic as far as the original superpowers goes. And I noticed that just now, I just now noticed this, is that there's actually a little bit of, I don't know if you can make that out. I'm going to try to cover up the light a little bit. Maybe you can see it a little bit. Oh, there's a little bit of blue staining on his shoulder. Oh no. Oh no. Probably from the dye of the cape kind of soaking into it. So be careful of that. Maybe I should be glad they gave Robin a yellow cape instead of a black one because of that. And it's a very long cape as far as Robin goes, but that's how they drew Tim Drake's cape in the comics. So, but they also drew it to be black on the outside. So they did not color in the collar of his shirt, so you can see a red shirt collar underneath. And really, that should be black to match the outside of his cape, but his cape isn't actually black. So if they were going to paint it, they would wind up painting it yellow, and that wouldn't be accurate anyway. So I don't know whether I should complain about that or not. So he's got one fist that's a solid fist, and another hand that's open to hold an accessory, even though he doesn't come with an accessory. But if you're like me and you're a purist, you're probably going to find some way to give him a bow staff, because you want your Tim Drake figure to have a bow staff. And this does seem like the other superpowers figures, where like you can see in the back here, hopefully you can make that out, is that the belt has a seam in it. So this is a separate belt that wraps around the torso of the figure. Something else that I notice about this is that it does kind of, the bottom of his shirt where it reaches the belt kind of bunches up a little bit. And that to me looks much more like the Dick Grayson Robin costume in that regard. So I'm kind of wondering if it's the sort of thing where like maybe they're planning on doing a Dick Grayson figure and they're going to use this this same torso again. They'd have to do something with the collar though, wouldn't they? And his abs aren't quite as prominent as usually the Tim Drake suit is presented as having some pretty prominent ads. I think they are abs, not ads. But I think they were going for like a Michael Keaton bat suit kind of thing, or it's like this molded body armor. But this one looks almost more like Dick Grayson's kind of jerkin. And he does have the padding on the gloves and the shoulders. See, there it is on the shoulders. There it is on the gloves. But there's only 3 pads on the gloves as opposed to 4. And the ones on the shoulders, they seem a little high to me. They reach all the way up to where the sleeve meets the vest. And really, I think they should be like much lower. If they were going to touch anything, they should touch like the hem of the sleeve, I think. His boots do have kind of that swoop to them like I was talking about, but it's very subtle. You know, I wish that a lot of my stuff's just in storage right now. And I wish that I'd had the Kenner Tim Drake figure that came out with Batman Returns to compare it to, because I think that might make an interesting comparison. And if I can find that at any point, I'm probably going to wind up doing a video where I compare the two of these. So maybe once that second Superpowers Tim Drake figure comes out. But the Batman Returns line and the Dark Knight collection line that came before it, they both kind of have their roots in superpowers. And like the Batman figure in that, even though it's Michael Keaton, it's retooled from the original Superpowers Batman. So they gave him a new Michael Keaton head and reworked the collar of the cowl on the torso to have the scalloping. And they gave it a belt buckle that looked more like the '89 belt buckle. And the legs on that were entirely new. They didn't have knee articulation, and the boots were very much like what he had in the 1989 film. So So yeah, and the Joker was just the same Joker figure, only he had new legs without knee joints and a Jack Nicholson head. But other than that, the mold was the same. So when they made that Tim Drake Robin, that would be one you would think would fit in with superpowers just fine, but I think he was a little too tall. That's just my opinion. So, but this one is just straight up like a superpowers Robin, and he's a little shorter than Batman, as he should be. I do think they took a lot of influence from the original Dick Grayson superpowers Robin, and his face actually to me looks very similar to that Robin. Like this face looks more like that Dick Grayson Robin to me than the actual Dick Grayson Nightwing figure they had looked like the original Superpowers figure. Hell, it looks more like the original Superpowers Robin than this looks like the original Superpowers Superman. And this is supposed to be the same character, whereas this is supposed to be a different character. That one was Dick Grayson. This one's Tim Drake. But he's got the spikier sort of hair. It has kind of like a weird sort of unevenness to it. Can you see that? Where it kind of is more tilted that way. So I'd probably rather it just stuck up like everywhere. This looks a little too modern to me. This is more like how modern spiky hair would look. I want 90s spiky hair because he's a 90s character. But that's just I'm just nitpicking at this point. It's a pretty good figure, taken on its own. I think it could have been better in a lot of ways. Like I keep coming back to that cape, man. Like to me, the two-tone cape is such an important part of Tim Drake's look as Robin that to me that's how it ought to be. It's like giving him a yellow cape. It's a little too Dick Grayson, and this makes it almost feel more sort of like an Earth 2 Dick Grayson figure than an actual Tim Drake figure in that regard. Like if you imagine he had like long red sleeves and green trunks and yellow tights, that's pretty much an Earth 2 Dick Grayson costume. So, but it's not a bad figure on its own. And if you're collecting these new Mcfarlane Superpowers figures and you just want a Robin to go along with Batman, I say, yeah, go ahead and pick him up. You could do a lot worse. But that having been said, they do have another Tim Drake Robin coming along that to me looks a lot more authentic. So it might be worth waiting on that one. But, I kind of figured if nothing else, I'd like to unbox this one for the show and talk about it for a little bit. So it was definitely worth me picking it up. But you're going to have to make your own decision as to whether you want to get this guy or wait on the next Tim Drake Robin, which I'll be picking that one up too. And if you want to make sure that you catch that video when that happens, make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. And let me know what you think about this figure in the comments. I've got some big news coming up, and I don't really want to say anything about it right now because it's one of those things where I feel like it's not my place to say anything about it right now. But there's something very cool that happened with my family recently, and like I said, I don't really want to say anything about it yet because I don't feel like I should until I've gotten permission to talk about it. But somebody out there that's going to watch this video is going to know what I'm talking about. So if you're wondering, oh, is he acknowledging the thing that I texted him about this morning? Yes, I'm acknowledging the thing that you texted me about this morning. So, but I'll probably talk more about it in an upcoming video as soon as I get the go ahead that it's okay for me to talk about it. So, anyway, that's it for this time. We'll talk to you next time. Bye. There we go.